Which is worse, non-compliance or insubordination? So today is Tuesday, 30 September 2025, and here I, Tanis Coralee of Seattle, ruminate about which is worse, non-compliance or insubordination. I apply these each in the context of my blood pressure being measured at the dentist over the past few years, 2022 to 2025 inclusive. So these are big and very, can be very scary concepts to certain people. And so I'm going to go through, I was like, depending on one's community, per my work experience, non-compliance is actually a term that's been used in the military. I think insubordination can be used. So it's kind of community specific, and they don't quite mean exactly the same thing. And so essentially I'm bringing this up because sometimes the things that go wrong in my life are because of myself. And these are things where somebody kind of does something, what could go wrong? And these are things where it's like, sometimes it's the person, but it's also kind of like a person meets structural thing. So that's what I'm going through. So non-compliance is refusal to do the thing. So this is in the context of my low blood pressure journey and getting measurements at the doctor's offices, actual doctor appointments that I've covered on this channel and have happened in the past. Okay. So non-compliance is refusal to do the thing. So I have not refused a blood pressure test as in like at verbal level, no. However, my blood pressure was too low to get a reading. So in that sense, my blood pressure system was non-compliant with the technology that was used to take my blood pressure. And I've had that happen a couple times, if I'm recalling correctly. And there was like one time where they had to take my blood pressure a few times to get a reading. So I complied in retaking my blood pressure until they got a reading. So the initial non-compliance was met by subsequent iterations until, so I complied in repeated attempts until there was compliance with my system yielding a blood pressure reading. However, it initially non-complied. So that's what insubordinate for this context is agreeing to do something and not doing it how it was intended. So I agreed to take the blood pressure test. However, the dentist comes in and takes an assessment of like, based on my clothing, this is what they need for the blood pressure test. And so an example of insubordinate here is rolling up my sleeve. So if I have a sweatshirt on, rolling up the sleeve or taking the sweatshirt off before being told they could take the reading through the sleeve. So some might use the phrase jumping the gun. Yes, so essentially like I act because I think I know what the doctor needs, but the dentist needs or the dental assistant needs. However, they come in and they're like, no, you can leave your sweatshirt on. So I've had that happen, and then that's insubordination because I'm acting in such a way that I think I know better than the dentist. All right, so this has actually required me to train attentiveness and patience into my visits at measurement time. Because like growing up, that was like, they always asked for me to take my sweatshirt off. So like, it's been a learning, like it depends on the dental assistant, it depends on the technology, it depends on what I'm wearing. All right, so it hasn't been a blanket treatment. So in that sense, it has required me to train myself in attentiveness and patience so that I don't just kind of, I'm not insubordinate. Okay. So from my perspective, non-compliance is worse. However, both can be disrespectful. And I think it kind of can think of like non-compliance can include insubordination in the sense of insubordination could be a form of refusal. However, non-compliance is broader than that as well and can be just complete refusal, whereas insubordinate is like, it isn't quite a fit for what they were looking for. Kind of like, you know, that kind of thing. So that's which is worse, non-compliance or insubordination? Like I from my perspective, non-compliance, and a little bit of context for my own performances and what could go wrong and that kind of stuff that I've encountered on that's my own self on my low blood pressure journey.